Hello, everybody. My name is Ana Rezende, and in this podcast, I will share my transformational journey to become a health coach. In each episode, I will address a different subject that impacts our health, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Because I've learned that being healthy means being in balance. If you would like to make amazing discoveries, improve your health, get inspired, and yet find sustainable ways to live and help the planet, tune in. You are in the right place. I'm your host, Ana Rezende, and good is what makes you feel well is Mama Terra's podcast.
Toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala a montanha, contempla a vista, transcende, levita.
On today's episode, I'm talking to the amazing couple, Barbara and Kevin Naylor from Five Sprouts Farm. Five Sprouts is a micro farm where Barbara and Kevin grow 100% organic vegetables in less than a half an acre lot in Maryville, Tennessee. They follow permaculture principles like no-till and composting, and also back-to-Eden methods like soil blocks. They also use warm tea produced in their backyard. Amazingly, the Naylors do all that while still working full-time jobs and raising their 5 kids. They are so knowledgeable about gardening and sustainable ways of living. You are going to love our conversation. Without further ado, Five Sprouts Farm. All right. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad to have you here. So I have here Barbara and Kevin Naylor from Five Sprouts, and we are going to talk about gardening.
Our favorite subject.
That's great. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Can you just let us know how you guys started and when, and how the whole idea of becoming farmers?
Yeah, we just started like everyone else, just a little small garden. Kind of got into raised bed gardening, and it kind of just took off from there. And it just, the more we learned, the bigger we got. And then we said, I think we have enough food where we can start sharing it with others and going to the farmers market.
So gardening was always your passion, or?
Yeah, my dad always had a garden, so ever since I was a little kid, I helped him in the garden. We've always had a garden growing up.
Okay.
So fresh food.
And then your mom was doing it too, and then you always had like fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yep.
So going back to your parents' house, at that time, was it like all organic?
Yeah, it's pretty much all organic. My dad started it from seeds. He had like 2 gardens, one in up like a little bit higher elevation, and then one lower. So he would do like cooler weather plants at the higher elevation. And then my mom, they did canning and jarring and everything else to
so they did
keep it through the winter.
Because my grandma, she had a garden, like a small garden, because she didn't have a big backyard. But she was always, of course, back then, it was all organic. Mm-hmm. There was no chemicals. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they were available for people like they are today. And I remember her saving her eggshells to put in the garden. Of course, I didn't understand quite well. I was little, but she was doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody back then was doing it, right? Yeah. So you grew up with that in mind, like all that knowledge came from your grandparents and then your parents and everything, and then you always had that.
Yeah, just growing up and watching, seeing what they're doing and everything. And then once I kind of got on my own, I always had my own little garden and played around with just as a hobby. I started off with a watermelon garden.
I think you had watermelons when we met, when we were dating.
Yeah.
And then when you guys got married, then you started your own garden at home as well. even
Always
before having
something little.
kids.
Yeah, just always something little was growing. And he did most of it, and I just figure out whatever he's growing, how to cook it. And I didn't grow it. I grew up in the city, and none of my parents or grandparents or anything ever had a garden. So I didn't see the benefits of it until we had been married for several years, and he started growing more and more of our food. I was like, wow. A fresh tomato definitely tastes way different than one from the grocery store. So yeah, I think we've just, over the years, we've ventured out and grew more things, started growing at different times of the year versus just like in the summer. And then in 2018, I think it was, we got introduced to some market gardeners, and we're like, hey, I think we could actually, because we're giving all of this food away that we had in abundance. And so we're like, I think we could maybe go to the farmers market. And that whole culture at the farmers market is just so much fun, and we love getting food into our neighbors' hands. So it's a very rewarding thing to grow food and be able to grow it well and get it into the hands of people in your community, be able to not only feed your own family but feed other people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you guys started going to the market in 2018 then? Okay.
Yep.
So you started without having the whole backyard producing yet, right?
Just a section of it.
Yeah.
We started expanding as we started learning methods from some of the people we watched on YouTube that were, doing it and giving advice to others. Yeah, every year we just seem to, extend a little bit more and a little bit more and incorporate some new things to grow. And
yeah, that was my next question. Where did you guys learn it, the whole thing? Like, you knew a little bit from your parents growing up, but then you just studied more, right?
Yeah, but books from the library, just YouTube searching stuff, and then kind of we wanted to stay on the more organic, because this is what we're feeding to our kids, and we just want the most healthiest food for our health too, and feel good about sharing it with others.
Yeah.
So some of the people we watched on YouTube starting out, there was Jim Kovaleski the first?
I think, no, he was like the second. I think it was Curtis Stone.
Curtis Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's up in Canada. I don't know if I think we always forget to mention him, but he has more of a big commercial outfit. Maybe commercial isn't the right word.
He's doing fast greens.
Fast greens, yeah. So we learned a lot about doing market gardening from him, and some about producing food, but there's so many, he doesn't incorporate a whole lot of permaculture type stuff, and we prefer to do that. He is organic. So he was the first guy we started listening to. So Curtis Stone, Jim Kovaleski is an itinerant farmer that lives half the year in Maine, half the year in Florida. He's a lot of fun. He's just full of knowledge. So you can just learn so much about him or from him, watching him. And then
the guy
Paul Gatskuski, I think is how you say his last name. And he,
I think it's Gauchi.
Gauchi, is that how you say it?
I don't know.
I chop up last names like that.
Yeah. Poggi.
Yeah.
They're
Poggi up in Oregon. I think it's Oregon or Washington State. And so some people love to go and visit his garden, or they did before his health started failing. But they made a documentary about him and his practice called Back to Eden Gardening, and most of everything we do was from him.
Okay.
And we kind of just made our own, a little bit of each person that we've learned, and kind of just incorporated it into our own thing.
Excellent. Yeah. So, what are the main techniques that you guys use?
I guess probably
wood
one
chips.
of the wood chips, which is, we learned that from Paul, is ground cover. So because of the wood chips, we don't till, we don't turn over the soil, which is better for the soil. It maintains all of the organic, micro-organic type stuff that's going on under the soil. You're not disturbing it, turning it over, exposing it to UV rays, and degrading the soil. So that's our main focus, is keeping the soil healthy, which from what we've learned from the people that we've mentioned, plus what we do, what we're seeing in our own garden, is the healthier the soil, the healthier the plant, and healthy plants don't signal or attract pests. So it reduces or eliminates the need for controlling pests. So if something is getting severely attacked in our garden, we look at it as, okay, something's going on in the soil right there. Not that, hey, we need to go buy a spray to control the pest.
And that is actually easier, right? So if you don't have to till, it's easier, because tilling is a lot of work. And then not spraying is easier too. If you, of course, have other means of controlling the pests, it's easier.
Yeah.
So we are talking about like doing organic, doing the right thing, and what other people are doing in their gardens, right?
Yeah. Our hands are our only tools in the garden. You know, anything that we can use with our hands, we don't have to put gas in a tiller. You know, we don't have to invest in that type of equipment. You know, everything we use
And
is
not
just
even buying any pesticides or anything to add, because everything is just there for free.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's labor on composting and doing the worm farm and in controlling the pests mechanically, like going there and picking them up with your hands.
Yeah.
But that is the right way and the easiest way and the cheapest.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And then the healthiest. The food
And the
is
healthiest.
just
The ward is you get really good tasting food.
good tasting food that you don't have to wonder, you know,
Yeah.
does this contain something that might not be good for me?
Yeah, and then more and more we see doctors in the field just raising the concern about pesticides and glyphosate and this and that and how bad it is and how much cancer and other illnesses those residues are causing, like people all over the world. So we need to just do the right thing. That is the easiest thing, and then the healthiest for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and all of those chemicals, so they have all those negative health effects on our human body, but what it's doing to the soil as well is it's basically stripping it of the nutrients. And so, I know I saw something that said like an apple today, you would have to eat like 5 apples or 10 apples to get the same amount of nutrients out of what you would have been able to get from an apple, just one apple, like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the soil is so poisoned. And so that's probably our biggest focus with our growing is what can we do to leave the soil better than we found it, and to grow food that's, you know, that can be not only nourishing, but it can be medicinal as well. And the higher the concentration of all of the minerals that should be in the soil, the higher you can get that up, the more medicinal the food is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and that is what composting does, right? So you guys are using the wood chips that of course have all the minerals from the trees and whatnot that we're putting back into the soil, and then composting as well, right? So you compost all your food scraps and plus I think you guys have a partnership with coffee grounds from Beard Brothers, right? Yeah. So what else do you to make volume for everything? So you have your own food scraps, paper. Yeah. Some paper.
For our composters, you mean? What are we putting
Yeah,
in those?
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, yard
clean
debris, clean
yeah.
cardboard.
Leads.
Yeah. And then food scraps. What else do you add to it? I mean, we would let that break down, and then we don't just put straight compost, like to make our seed blocks or, you know, for the soil out. When we plant things, we add volcano dust,
Azomite dust.
which provides a lot of minerals, and peat moss.
Peat moss.
And then you guys buy that? Okay.
Yeah, we
And
buy
where
the
do you
peat
buy from?
moss from Lowe's, and then the azomite dust we get from Amazon.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you can
so
buy.
then that is for you to make the soil blocks, right? So you buy those 2 ingredients and then you mix it up with the compost, is that? Okay.
there's a recipe. It was, I think, originally Elliot Coleman's recipe, and then Jim Koval. We learned it from Jim Kovaleski, as he did a whole video on it. You know, how he makes his seed blocks and what he does his mix. And ours is a little bit different from his standard mix.
Yeah.
But it seemed what we have, it just seems to work.
And we put a
best
little
in
bit
our
of
garden.
worm castings in too.
Yeah, worm castings from our worm farm.
Okay, yeah, so those are the 3 main things then. The worm casting, the compost that you mix with the volcano dust, and what is the name of the
What was the other one you said?
Worm castings.
Worm castings.
peat moss?
Peat moss.
moss.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Azomite dust. Yeah.
Yeah. the dust, and then you mix it all together. You make the soil blocks, and then you store your seedings on the soil block. Yeah.
We use that mix as well when we're taking the soil blocks and planting them out. So once the soil blocks have started to grow, we use that same mix to, put a hole in the ground, put that soil in, and then put the seed block in that.
Eventually, once, I think we're 3 years into our garden. Eventually, this wood chips and the worms and everything, we won't have to do that anymore because we're still trying to build up the soil. I think after about 5 years, we'll just be able to pull it back, and you'll see worms, and it's really healthy. Then we'll just drop the plant right in.
Okay, so you have worms in the raised beds as well, not only in the worm farm.
Yeah, I think the ones in the worm farm are different from like your typical earthworm. So we have just earthworms that you would have, in your ground anyways.
Yeah, because you would track them when you have good soil, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the other worm that we use is called for the farm is a red wiggler, I think. So, and I don't know that they would, if we put them out in the garden, if they would survive through the winter because we have to keep them at a certain temperature. But they just produce massive amounts of byproducts, and it's just it is crazy when Kevin does a mixture of worm tea and goes and sprays everything.
Oh yeah.
Like a week later, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got cucumbers coming out of my ears here. So it's unbelievable.
And that is how we need to do, right? So like for people listening, what you do with the worm farm is that you collect the castings and then you spray over the plants.
Yeah.
You spray in the soil, or you spraying the plants?
The plants.
Okay.
And usually, so basically a worm farm, you put all your greens and then a little bit of brown they'll eat too. And then you cover it up and then they eat. But it's on top of another bucket, and you water them maybe once a week, just give them a little bit of water, and that drains through all the worm castings into the bottom, and that's what makes your worm tea.
And then you pick that up and just put in a spray bottle and you spray it.
It's pretty strong, so I dilute it maybe like 1-to-1 with some rainwater, and then I'll wait for it to rain, and then as soon as it's done raining, then I'll go with the worm tea and water the plants, because the root system and everything is kind of like a sponge, so it'll absorb more of the nutrients after it's been raining.
We do a lot of things with the worms. I mean, they compost some food scraps for us, and then we use their castings in our soil mixes for seed blocks and for planting. Sometimes when we have tons of castings, he'll just go out and throw, just the clumps of castings and things that are starting to grow when it's going to rain. And then we also, you use the castings, right, to soak them in water to get the worm tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with a bubbler.
Yeah. So we do an aerated compost tea with their castings. So they're a vital part of what we're doing to grow organically and to enhance the health benefits in the soil. So they play a major function in what we do.
Yeah. That is amazing. That is amazing. And do you keep them in the garage then, because they cannot support the cold? Right.
And we have a cellar under our house, so that it stays about 10 to 15 degrees cooler than our house above. So we do a lot of things in our cellars. We should have seed blocks started by now, but we're a little behind this year. So we do, we'll start our seed blocks down there when it's like this 13 degrees out. They can get those going. So we have it all. We have a whole lighting system under there, a rack system, and a way to control temperature and humidity and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. That is perfect. So going back to the worm farm, how big it is? How many buckets, or how? Just for people to understand.
I think I'm on 3 farms now. I got 2 that I made out of just 55-gallon drums, or not 55, 5-gallon plastic barrels.
They're like pickles, right? Those buckets that hold big Like
I know.
one of our kids works at a restaurant, so it's, they get that 5-gallon bucket of pickles. So he just gave us some of them, and you just drilled holes in it
Drill
and
holes
created
in
a
the bottom.
system.
And worms like to feed up, so once you get one bucket that's all done, you just put another bucket on top with holes, and they'll feed up to the next one. And then once they all move up, you take the bottom bucket out, and then you can use their castings.
Okay. So you have like 3 on top of each other, and that's it. So it doesn't take a lot of room.
Oh no! Even our biggest system is in just your typical
It's a tote.
tote, like you would get
It's
at
the
Walmart.
warm
Just
hotel.
Warm hotel.
And they reproduce and
Oh, yeah.
keep growing, so you don't have to buy other worms.
No, I've only had to buy one bag of,
One bag of worms from a lady local here, and that was 2018.
yeah, and they just
And
keep,
They just keep reproducing.
Yeah.
That
So
is
we
awesome.
have 3 now.
yeah.
2 houses and 1 hotel.
And they,
That is awesome. So, yeah. So tell me about composting then. So you use some compost to make the soil blocks, and other than that, do you just just throw some over the beds, or you don't?
the beds I do, I put about 3 inches, the fast green beds, so the spinach, the lettuce beds, what else? Kale.
Yeah, every time we replant, he'll go put a new layer
Oh,
of fresh
compost.
compost on
The
places that we
beds.
grow that aren't in wood. There's wood chips around it, but like we have 6 just compost rows, soil rows that we grow fast greens and stuff on.
And that's just because we're turning that so quick. Like we'll get 3 cuttings off a bed of lettuce, and then we'll put 2 or 3 inches of compost over it, and then reseed it again.
Okay.
So that's pretty much our fast greens are the only things that we really don't plant directly in wood chips.
Wood chips, yeah.
Yeah, so everything else, you just keep the wood chips and don't add any compost to it.
We just, so like if we were planting tomatoes that we had started from seed blocks, we would just go out near the trellis. We have this little hand tool that just puts a little hole in the ground. We put some compost in, the soil mixture we talked about, and then drop the seed block in it. So it's just a handful.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then we just cover it
with
up, and that's it.
and the wood chips
Mm-hmm.
over.
And then worm tea as we go along.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
the
so
wood
those
chips
are
are
the
amazing.
3 main things then. The worm tea, the compost too, just the plantings, a handful of each for each plant, and then spraying the compost tea afterwards and covering with the wood chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
And the only thing we really water is the fast greens that aren't in wood chips. The plants that are in wood chips, we never hardly water them.
Oh,
Because
That's a benefit of wood chips.
because it keeps all the moisture in, so you don't need to water them.
Yeah, that's one thing Paul G. that he had talked a lot about in his Back to Eden gardening method video was wood chips are amazing because if there's too much water, they disperse the water so your plants don't sit there soggy, and then but they're like sponges. The wood chips absorb the water and do a slow release, so you barely have to water.
That is amazing.
and I think
That is amazing.
just after this last couple of weeks of how cold we've been, under my low tunnels, I have wood chips around both beds and down the middle. It was -3 out the other morning, and I looked at the temperature in the low hoop, and it was 21 degrees. So I think it releases
It's
heat
insulator too.
too.
Wow.
Yeah, so it really does help regulate with temperatures.
Yeah. So talking about the wood chips, by the way, you guys get wood chips from a company, right? So tell us about it.
That's a completely free service,
Yeah.
which is amazing. So local people that are cutting down trees and chipping them, they need somewhere to dump, and they're either going to have to use their land or they're going to have to, pay to dump it at the local dump. And so there is a nationwide service. The website is chipdrop.com, and you can just go on and put in your address and let them know you're wanting some wood chips, and then when somebody is in your area already cutting down trees, they'll just come dump it on your property. So we have to say, hold on,
Yeah.
no more.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you ever ran short
No.
of wood chips. No, because
No.
there's always
So many.
so many available.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
So
amazing.
it's a completely free service, which is fantastic. It helps if you're wanting to use wood chips in your garden, which I think is just an amazing thing to do. You can get them for free. I think maybe the first couple of times they do have an option where you can put a little bit of a tip on. So we'll just put on like $20 to encourage, a company to come dump at our place. But then once they know we want them, they just keep bringing them.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And there's notes in there, like if you don't want any black walnut tree or, certain types of wood chips in your garden, you can go and say that. And also it says small logs.
Yeah.
So we always take the small logs too, and we just stack them up for firewood, for a fire pit.
Yeah.
So
Just going back on cost again. Then you have your wood chips for free. Then your worm farm, you bought it once, a little bag of worms, and then they keep growing, so there is no cost there,
yeah.
right? And compost is whatever we generate of organic matter and scraps in our kitchen, no cost.
Yeah.
People think that organic is fancy and it's this or that, so we're talking about the simplest, cheapest way of doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And I think that word organic has just become kind of bougie. Like
Yeah,
you're saying.
me too.
I think because organic food at the grocery store is more expensive, you just think more expensive. We like to tell people we actually grow beyond organic. There's a lot of things that organic farmers still use, like organic fertilizers or organic pesticides, which sometimes aren't any better than using something, chemical that is non-organic. So we tell people we grow beyond organic. So we don't even use organic fertilizers or organic pesticides or any of that.
Yeah, that is a very good point. One of the reasons why I think it's so hard to say, because once we put a label on it, it generates a big system around. So for those people to have the organic label, they have to pay big organizations that need the money to, of course, pay the people or whatever their processes are. It is another industry by
It is.
itself.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's a very profitable industry.
Yeah, and then when it starts to generate that much money, so we know it's not going to end up well.
And
Right.
so the main message of that is great if you have to buy something at the store and you want to buy organic. I don't think there's anything terrible about it, but gosh, go to your local farmers market. That's where you're going to find people in your community that are growing food and wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So if that's the industry to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And another point on going local is so much more important than being organic by label, because we know that the longer the product sits on a shelf in the grocery store, even being organic, if it sits there for a week, it's gonna be like half of the nutrients.
Yeah.
So I was listening to Dr. Zach Bush the other day because I just love him. And he is all about permaculture and regenerative agriculture and all that. And I just love the way he works. And he was saying exactly that. So if you do have a choice from buying organic at the grocery store and going to your farmer's market, go to your farmer's market. Because even if that farmer is using any kind of chemical fertilizer or anything, even though it's going to be better than the organic that you buy from the grocery store that was grown in Costa Rica or South Africa, because the other day we were buying oranges, and we do have like oranges here in Florida, but the oranges in the grocery store are from someplace in Africa, like South Africa or something. And then I said, whoa, how come that happens? It's unbelievable. So
I would say in most cities, most areas where you have a farmer's market available to you, if you go and talk to the farmers and ask them questions, not just do you grow organic, but ask them, real questions like what you want to, when was this food picked? I would say you will you'll typically find some people growing food that are very interested in getting healthy food into the community. I mean, that's Kevin and I, we have a rule. Food doesn't go to the farmer's market table if it was picked more than 24 hours. So we pick Friday night, we're at the farmer's market Saturday morning. We want you to be able to put a salad on your dinner table that evening, and it's not even 24 hours old.
Yeah.
So there's some things that can be picked and sit, like potatoes and onions and those things. But when you think about things like your salad greens and your tomatoes, I mean, even 2 weeks, pick 2 weeks ago, that's lost a lot of its nutritional content.
Yeah.
So food needs to, if your farmer's market's on Saturday, it needs to be picked quickly, brought to the market, and then you can take it home and consume it over the next couple of days and get the medicinal benefits of the food before it degrades.
Yeah.
And the taste.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, we get so many compliments about how good our tomatoes taste because we didn't pick them green.
Yeah, we don't pick them green.
We pick them when they're fully ripe.
Yeah. And I mean, I tell people, you probably have till Wednesday, to eat this. I mean, you can put them in the fridge and you can slow that process down a little bit, but it's great to be able to have food within 24 hours. And I would say there's probably farmers all over the country that are interested in that for the people that are buying their food as well. It's just going and talking and having conversations with the different people that are selling at your farmer's market.
Yeah, no, that's the way to go. Absolutely. Like local, fresh, and of course, organic if possible. That is great. So tell me, what kind of vegetables do you guys grow?
As much as we
Everything.
possibly can. We grow a lot. I mean, what we like to grow for the market, because we're limited on space. I mean, we live on less than half an acre, and we probably have not even half under cultivation right now. Mm-hmm. So we have less than a quarter of an acre, under cultivation. So salad greens are usually the thing. It's probably what we're most known for, and different greens mixtures, spinach, that kind of leafy greens, kale. We grow, tomatoes in season, so we love growing fresh tomatoes. We grow a lot of things. Well, what else? Collard greens. Swiss chard, I think, is a big one that we love. The Swiss chard we grow because it'll start in the spring, and I call it it's like 3 seasons Swiss chard because it goes all the way into late fall.
And they are so beautiful, so colorful. Mm-hmm. I love them.
Yeah,
Are they easy to grow?
Mm-hmm. Very easy.
Because I found kale super easy to grow. Mm-hmm. So I had 3 or 4 plants, and they all did great.
Yeah. I think Swiss chard's even easier than kale. And it stands up to, we have a beetle here called the harlequin beetle it's a pain to me. But for the kale, when it starts to get too warm, the beetles start to come. Even if you've had healthy plants, they're at the end of their life cycle by the time the beetles arrive, and so the beetles but they don't touch the Swiss chard. And so the Swiss chard just keeps going. I had a problem with my kale, not with beetles though, with the green worms, the little tiny worms. I don't know that we
They took over. I had to cut my plants down.
Was it
because I took a vacation and I traveled, and that was the problem. I know, because then I lost sight. And then they took over. So when I came back, I tried to control it, but I couldn't. So I had to cut my plants.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to scrap it and say, try again in the fall.
Yeah. So it was so pretty, my kale. I was so proud of myself with my kale plant.
There's nothing better than seeing something beautiful growing, and it's delicious to eat and everything.
But it was my first year gardening, so I was able to grow so much that I was really proud. Yeah, so this coming year, it's going to be even better. So anyway, we talked about greens, all the greens, then tomatoes. I saw the red okra that you had.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one this year. We've done that 2 years now.
Yep.
So the
do
red
you do zucchini and squash?
Yeah. Zucchini and squash.
We try to do different
peas
at the market too, so it's not just the typical. I think you do the golden.
Yeah, so everybody has zucchini at the market, so I grow golden zucchinis, and then everybody has crookneck yellow squash, so I'll grow a type of yellow squash called a lemon squash. So I like to grow weird vegetables because it does attract people.
Yeah,
people love to come and talk about it, and those different vegetables you can't get. I like growing things you really can't get at the grocery store.
Snow apples.
Oh yeah, that's one of our favorite. Radishes and the sweet white turnips.
Okay.
Are a big one. But yeah, we'll put our sign out, snow apples, and everybody wants to know, what is a snow apple? And yeah, so things like that you can't find at the grocery store. And herbs, just trying to think. We grow
Flowers, a lot of
lots of
Oh, yeah,
flowers.
you like flowers too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, flowers are great because they attract pollinators and helps everything grows better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
have some flowers too on my garden, but you do have like pretty fancy flowers, right?
I like growing, I like growing the zinnias, but the kind of the weird ones there too that you won't, just see in a typical garden. I know this year I grew like a really bright red one and then a lime green, and they made beautiful bouquets.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
zinnias
fun.
are good pollinators as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're lucky on that. Across the field from us, we have a neighbor that has beehives.
Oh,
So in the morning, they just all come over and they're all over the.
They're
and then do you guys buy honey from him?
I don't know how to. Oh, we don't know how to because he's a bit of a celebrity in the area, so I'm not quite sure how to be like, hi neighbor.
I did
So-
not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do buy a local honey from a farm here in Tennessee, but it's not here in Maryville. So I didn't know somebody with a lot of honey
bees,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen his honey on the shelves anywhere, so I'm not sure where he's selling it, but he does have a lot of bees. And I know he is
Wow.
selling his honey, so I don't know. I have no idea where that is.
And that's awesome
Yeah.
because then you have local bees.
Yeah.
Really local.
Oh my gosh, when our arugula went to flower this
Uh-huh.
last year, I mean, it was just like swarms of bees. They were all over the flowers.
Isn't that
were blooming.
wonderful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, I had so much fun watching the bumblebees on my basil because the African blue basil, somebody told me that it was not good for making pesto or eating because it's more harsh, the flavor. But it grew so much. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do something with it, and I tried, and we just loved the pesto with that basil.
Really? Okay.
And the bees were all over it. It grew so much. I cut it down 3 times and it kept growing and kept growing. It was like it almost took over one whole bed.
What kind is it?
The African blue
African
basil.
Blue basil. Okay. We've grown the purple basil before.
Yeah, so I bought it from Honey Rock Farm
Okay.
by you guys
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
farmers market. I love them.
They're
They
so
are such a
fantastic.
cute, yeah, they're
Yeah.
such a cute couple. Oh my goodness. So I bought all my plants from them, and she told me about the African blue basil just for bees. She said I plant them just for bees, but I ended up making 5 or 6 big batches of pesto
Oh, wow.
with that basil, and it turned out really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So I
good.
gave
Yeah,
to
we
my
have to get that
neighbor.
one next year.
Yeah,
I like
and
buying
it's
plants
so
from them.
easy because my regular basil, it was not thriving. So
Okay.
I think the moisture in the soil, I don't know what happened, but it was not really happy. So I was having a hard time with it, and then the other one was just growing like crazy.
I know. I think more and more of what happens in our garden more is a mystery to us than something we can say, oh, this is where we went wrong, or it's just a mystery. One year this plant will do great, the next year it doesn't do great, and it's like, well, you just try again.
Yeah, and we just have to keep learning and keep paying attention and observing and and see what does well.
And I think spending time in your garden too. I mean, a lot of people will spend a lot of time to get a garden going, and they'll go out to pull weeds or they'll go out to pick vegetables. But I think just spending time in your garden, even when you're not really doing anything, that is a great time to watch, observe. Of course, just all of the benefits of just sitting in the beauty of the garden as well. There's just so much that's just good for mental health, for your soul. But Jim Kovaleski said something one time. He said the best, did he say something about the gardener's insect repellent?
The farmer's shadow.
The farmer's shadow. That is the best way. If you want to learn about your garden, you have to be out there and you have to let it teach you. And so the garden, the
that's
farmer's shadow is
the
best.
pesticide.
Yeah. Is
the
the best.
insect repellent.
Yeah, the best way to education or something. I have to go back. I just always think about that. So I mean, when our garden is going and I come home from work, I'll pull into the driveway and I'll call him and say, I'm home, let's walk the garden. And so it's my favorite thing to do, just to decompress after working, but before going in and tending to my family, we'll just take 10-15 minutes, walk around, and then it's a great time. Oh, let's do this, or we need to tackle that, or this isn't doing good, or oh, look how good that is. And I don't know, there's just so much benefits to
Oh, yeah.
being
Oh, yeah.
among plants that are thriving and life that's happening. And
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard one guy saying that the best gardening tool is a chair. So you can sit in your garden and observe.
Yeah.
That's the same principle.
Yes.
But I thought it was so interesting when he said, and that's exactly it. So you need to know what kind of insects are coming, or birds, or
Groundhogs.
groundhogs.
groundhogs, or crows. I have crows in my backyard, but they never came, like bunnies and whatnot. So you have to just be there and see what's happening.
Yeah, walking your garden will keep the bunnies, at least they know you're going to be out there.
Yeah.
So it kind of keeps, and
and
bunnies
we do
still
have lots
eat.
of bunnies, but I never had any problems with them, actually. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
We do sometimes, but
This last year we had a big groundhog,
we had a huge
and
groundhog.
he liked our salad a lot.
He was like a lawnmower.
Wow.
So we had to just, booby trap it a little bit to deter him. We, but we bought these things that you put in the ground, and like if something walked by, it was hooked up to the garden hose and it would spray them.
Yeah.
And it worked for a
Motion
little
sprinkler.
bit. So, anyways, but honestly, us being out there more is really, like he said, the farmer's shadow is the best repellent.
Yeah. And then we, so of course it's kind of known that gardening has so many different health benefits. Like I said, for mental health, it's just wonderful. It's therapeutic. Then we are out getting the sun shine, so we don't get low on vitamin D and
Exercise.
exercise
Yeah.
because it's a lot of squats, you know.
Your hands are in the soil.
Yeah.
You absorb things from the soil.
Yeah, and then all the microbes and diversity of microorganisms that we get from touching that rich soil, it is so important. So we get all that, and people sometimes they don't understand how good of an overall exercise for mental health, for physical health, for everything else, and then you get the benefits of eating fresh, organic food that you grew, and that energy, oh my gosh, like everything about it, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's what makes we feel well, right?
Right.
Because we are doing all the right things, and then we are getting all those benefits. There is no way that is not gonna make us feel well, right?
The garden gives us way more than it ever requires of us. We benefit way more than the
Absolutely.
energy we expend there.
Yeah, I totally agree. So going back to just one point you said, when you guys come back from work, then you kind of decompress, walk in the garden 15 minutes. And I wanted to mention that and have you guys tell everybody that is listening that you do all those amazing things, gardening, while still working full-time jobs. Yeah. Tell us about this. How you guys manage everything, the family, the jobs, and the garden.
Well, we obviously love it because you're not going to spend the time you have off of work, doing the work that it takes to get a garden going if you don't love it and reap the benefits of it. So we absolutely do. But I work away from the house 4 days a week. And then, so I work about 32 to 36 hours a week at a job. And then Kevin works from home, but he works 40 hours a week. So, it's just, sun is up earlier. We can get up early in the morning and do some things before work. But more often than not, we're doing things after work. And then I do all of the prep, or most of the prep work for the farmers market on Fridays when I'm off. And then we do things, on the weekends.
Yeah, big projects. It's
And
definitely
the
good.
kids help you guys as well?
Yeah, most of the time. It's, we have 3 still at home. So the 3 at home, they're getting into those teenage years. So it's sometimes a bribe we'll give you so much money for shoveling wood chips. We do, like, our two youngest, we'll let them pick something they want to do in the garden that year. Sometimes our daughter has done flowers, so she'll help me pick out flowers and help make bouquet arrangements. If she comes to the farmer's market and stands there and sells her flowers, then, she gets the money from it. And
Same with
what was
the sprouts.
The sprouts. He would rinse the sprouts all week. He would do all the rinsing, help me package them. He'd go to the market and he could make the money from growing the sprouts. And so it gives them a chance to participate in the process and also reap the rewards of, going to the market, learning to talk to people about the sprouts or the flowers, and then, being able to sell it and make money. And then they usually walk around the market and spend it on something else there. So
yeah, but that is so wonderful for them.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to teach the kids is to show them
Mm-hmm.
by example, right?
Yes.
So it's just wonderful. And I think you guys planted really well the seeds of this love for gardening, because then your oldest is now growing something.
Yeah, I mean, he's the same. When he moved out into his apartment a couple of years ago, he started a garden in this little patio section. So he grew stuff for himself.
In grow bags.
In grow bags, yeah. He also participated in a program several years ago. It's called WOOF. Have you ever heard of this? It's Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. It's WOOF.
Mm-hmm.
And so different organic farms around the whole world will say, you can come live here free of charge in exchange for 20 hours of working on our farm. Wow. And so he went to Washington State and worked on a farm there for 6 to 9 months and got a lot of experience. So he's always enjoyed the farming aspect. Kind of being a little more self-sufficient and growing. But now he has gotten very interested in culinary mushrooms. And so he started that 3 years ago, or maybe 4. Mm-hmm. And he is at a place where he's starting to supply local restaurants with mushrooms. And he's just taken a leap of faith and, took out a lease on a big warehouse space. So he's expanding. He's probably 4 or 5 times doubled or quadrupled or whatever his growing space.
Wow, that's amazing. And that is such a good time to grow mushrooms, because mushrooms are just exploding with all the health benefits and all the research that it's growing around mushrooms. So that is gonna be so good for him. Of course, just doing this, it's just great.
He is very excited and very invested in doing that, and he loves mushrooms. I mean, every chance he gets, he brings them to his house. This is what I'm growing this week. Here, let me cook it for you. And
oh my gosh, isn't that wonderful? Oh my gosh, it makes mom proud.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then your daughter is also interested in nutrition, isn't that right?
Yeah, she's been working towards finishing a degree in, I think, just like in general nutrition. I think she wants to do something similar to you eventually, some type of health coaching. But she's, been able to, when she was about 16 or 17, she got her first job at a fast food place and started eating a lot of fast food, and, just because it was there and it was convenient. And, she experienced some of the things that you experience when you eat a lot of fast food, not feeling well. And so then after that, she started like eating more of the food we were growing and realized how good it made her feel. So I think it might have been that experience that kind of put that little bug in her head with, wow, people, there's a lot of people that could benefit just from having someone walk beside them and help them make small changes, and being able to get into a place where they feel better. That's it's an incredibly rewarding career, I can only imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes such a huge difference. Yeah. So, and that is actually my dream. I started writing a book, and I'm targeting exactly this demographic, like young adults. They're just starting their lives. So I'm calling it Living Your Best Life in College. The idea is to prep high school seniors to go out of parents' house and start with the right food. So I'm going to talk about all the things, health, holistic health, nutrition, like taking care of yourself, managing stress, all that. But that is the idea, to educate them, because unfortunately, there's not a lot of parents like you guys that are teaching or showing their kids, most of the people actually don't have a clue how well or how bad the food that they're eating can make them feel. So the idea is to just spread the word and help as much people as possible to have that knowledge, because most people just don't know. So they keep just eating that junk food, and that is making them sicker and sicker, and they don't know because they go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't seem that.
It's just more meds.
Yeah, just more meds on top of that bad food, what makes it even worse. Yeah, we need to keep doing this, and
Unfortunately, our food system and the pharmaceutical system and the doctors, it feels like a big cycle that never ends, and you're dependent on it either because the food is addictive and so you're addicted to the food, or you know, you have health conditions as a result of a poor diet, so now you have to be on medication and you're constantly being managed. Where if you could just learn a few things about nutrition and about eating and feeling better, you could be completely independent of those systems, or at least as much as possible. You know, I mean, we can't be completely independent of the food system because we still have to go to the grocery store. But just being able to go to the grocery store and making wise choices is fantastic. Some of the girls that I work with, they're, you know, I'm a little bit older in the office, so I have kids their age. I work with people my kids' age. And I think one of the girls had said, well, if I could cook like you, I could eat like this all the time. And I was like, well, when I was your age, I thought Hamburger Helper was home cooking, right? Like, I cooked a meal at home. Here's Hamburger Helper. I home cooked. No. But it takes a little bit of time, you know, just to get used to making things from basic ingredients. And then knowing, you know, where those things are coming from. That will turn your health around, and it will get you to a place where you don't have those, oh my gosh, I just want to go eat this, or I want to go eat that. There's no dramatic food cravings, which I see a lot of people, you know, unfortunately have. And the food in the system is designed to keep you as a repeat customer.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Nothing is by chance. It's by design. Like, that's why you go back to that bag of Doritos, because they are designed to make you addicted to them. And that is, and most people don't know. That's why we need to just spread the word, and we need to educate people, and especially those kids, because just this morning I saw, you know, Dr. Brooke Goldner, I don't know if you know her. She wrote the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, and I love her.
Oh, yeah.
She has such a great energy, and she healed herself from lupus 18 years ago. So she does a beautiful job educating people. She has like free YouTube channel. You can watch her videos and learn everything. But this morning she posted something on Instagram about Snoop Dogg's daughter. I think she had a stroke and she's 24 years old or something. And she was talking about this, like kids, a very young age. So who thought in the world that a girl with 24 years old would have a stroke? So kids are getting sicker, like with those really serious things earlier and earlier, because we're just eating worse and worse. Every generation is just getting worse. In the 30s, I think I saw the other day a picture of New York City. Everybody walking so slim. And then nowadays, it's a battle against obesity and then diabetes and all the bad disease, because we're
poisoning our food.
We're poisoning our food, and then
even people, I know I've heard like some people will have problems eating bread, eating flour, you know, products made from flour here in America, but then they can go over to Europe where they don't allow genetically modified wheat, and they can eat breads and pastas and not have any gastrointestinal issues, not have any allergy or autoimmune issues, and also they're not gaining tremendous amount of weight from it. So we really are, unfortunately, our food system is poisoning us in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so lots of education is really needed. So that's the intent. That is the intent of the podcast, to get the word out and then to show people examples. Come on, it's not that hard. If you guys can do it in a very small piece of land with 5 kids and working, everybody can do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
You guys spend a little less time on Netflix.
That's of course there is a trade,
Yes.
but it's all for good.
Yeah, it's all a beneficial trade.
Yeah, and then
For sure.
that is the way to grow those kids with that knowledge, so they will pass that on to the next generation. So that is the idea, so we can reverse this bad situation that we ended up.
Yeah. And sometimes, like with our kids right now, the 3 that are still at home, like I don't see any of them just, there's not a lot of enthusiasm about having to get out into the garden and help out or do work or even being paid to do some of the stuff. But we have a son that's 27, and he was the same way at 15, 16. He would come out and help, but he didn't just love it, right? But now he loves it. And it's the same, we hiked a lot with our 2 older kids when they were little. There would be a lot of, why do we have to hike again? Why do we, a little bit of whining about it. And now both of them love hiking. And, they tell their younger siblings, you guys should be thankful Mom and Dad take you to do this. So sometimes I just say that to encourage parents that if you start a garden and kids complain about having to help, one day they're gonna look back. Hopefully they'll be doing things similar, in their life as they get older, but they'll also look back and those will be good memories. They won't remember whining or complaining. They'll just remember being out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And those are the seeds we need to plant. And I started seeing that with my son. He would complain about everything, like traveling to anywhere, not even hiking. And he's kind of making the turn. When they go, they want everything away from parents. And then they come back. And so he's making the turn. I can clearly see him making the turn. And all those memories. But that is what sticks with them. And then I say all the time, parenting is a long-term investment. You are gonna see the results just when 30 years from now. But we are planting the seeds. And that is what nature teaches us. You have to be patient.
And gardening,
plant the seed.
and parenting.
Yes. It is the same process because it's all nature, right? So it's no different. You have to be patient. You have to do the right thing, plant the seed, feed that seed, and wait. It's going to just bloom.
Absolutely.
It's going to take some time, but with patience and persistence, right? So yeah, that is awesome. It's the way to go. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you guys are amazing. It's such a good example and just a good presence in the community. It's unbelievable.
And
amazing.
Also being outside in your garden all the time working, I've met so many of my neighbors that walk their dog and we have conversations. And sometimes I'll be working in the garden and just someone is standing there that popped up that drives by and wants to talk about gardening.
Yeah.
So it really brings more community.
It does.
Too.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially for older people. So here in our neighborhood, I wanted to build a community garden because we have so much land. It was a golf course and we have all those lawns. They're perfect. And I thought, well, we should do a community garden because we have so many elderly living nearby, and that is the best for them. Just to be out, meeting new people, exercising, sunshine, and everything, and fresh food.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, they don't want to do it. So I said, well, I'll do it in my backyard. And then I started. But this is a mindset that we need to change because we don't need green grass. We need food.
Right.
And food for the bees, for the animals, for us, and to keep the soil for the future.
Yeah, next generation.
Because, grass is not going to do us any good.
No.
It's not doing anything now. It's not going to change. So awesome. What else we can say for words of encouragement for people listening? What else? It's possible, right?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It is a mindset change, and it is a process. You could start out very small and just add a little every year. Even just raised beds. We have a couple of raised beds that we use them for different things, mostly for growing for us, but we have different seasons that we do different things with them. But
Or even if you're in an apartment, they make these garden towers now.
oh yeah,
You can
those are
do-
great.
And
on-
microgreens, we can
Yeah.
grow microgreens even in a shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, or in sprouts, you can grow sprouts in your kitchen, and
Yeah.
that's just a way to. You could put sprouts on anything, a salad or a sandwich, and they're just power packed. Microgreens or sprouts are power packed with nutrients. So yeah, there's so many ways to get into it. It's just figuring out, what space do you have, and then start working with it.
And once we start seeing benefits, then it's just a
Yeah.
self-empowering thing that it keeps moving us to do more and more, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really important for us to have those conversations, and that's why I wanted to so bad talk to you guys, because you guys are such a good example of how possible it is in the midst of everything. We still can do it.
Yeah.
And doing the right thing is just something that just makes us feel so well. I mean, it's just that peace of mind that doing the right thing and knowing that you're growing, like raising your kids with the best food possible and helping the community, like you said, like going to the farmers market. That is the power of community coming together and sharing what they have, the best they have.
Yeah.
Right? So it is really powerful. And even just going out and talking to your neighbor, that is the power of community. And then the knowing that you can help each other. Actually, talking about helping each other, we haven't talked about how much you guys are growing and how much you sell, how much you consume, and all that. So just let's touch on that really quickly.
So, we grow a lot, especially in the peak growing seasons, particularly for lettuce and radishes. So we're taking, in peak growing season, we're taking between 20 and 40 pounds a week to the Walnut Kitchen, which is a local restaurant. And then we take 5 to 10 pounds, depending on what they need that week, to Beard Brothers. Is that right? 5 to 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Then we're taking between 30 and 50 and sometimes 60 pounds to the farmers market.
Wow. So that's more than 100 pounds a week.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We usually bring some home from the farmers market. We
Give it
need
to our
more
neighbors.
Yeah, we need more people to come to the farmers market. But yes, and then we give away to our neighbors. We donate to a local domestic violence shelter when we have an abundance, which is fantastic for them, and we love that. So yeah, we're pulling a lot of food out. I don't even know how many pounds of tomatoes. 10 to maybe 20 pounds a week. I'm picking, when everything's growing well.
Like big baskets of tomatoes every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so awesome.
Lots of radishes. I was trying to think of Swiss chard. My goodness, Swiss
Swiss
chard.
chard.
We're doing.
Can you
How many
imagine
batches?
if everybody, just in my neighborhood here, that we have so much land, if all of us had gardens like you guys, how many people we could feed?
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, I would say if you had 20 neighbors and each of you picked a different thing to grow, and then you just brought it together and exchanged once a week. Like, okay, you just grow Swiss chard, and you just grow kale, and you just grow tomatoes or whatever. That would be a neat way to spend time with your neighbors and to garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Yeah, that is a dream. It is a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's possible.
Right.
We're doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So one step at a time, one person at a time that we can convince. And if just one of my neighbors that listen, we start doing it. Yeah, I'm gonna feel proud to have had this conversation with you guys.
Yeah.
So, yay! Thank you so much. I think it was awesome.
Thank you.
I just loved the conversation. I think I could just keep talking to you forever. I don't even know what time is it, but I think we have been talking for a long time now.
Yeah. Is it
12:20?
12:20? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, that's time. Thank you so much again.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely.
And yeah, let's keep talking. So tell people where they can find you guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the Maryville Farmers Market.
Okay,
Come see us on
so-
Saturdays. But we
Instagram.
do have an Instagram and a Facebook. It's the number 5 Sprouts Farm. So there is another 5 Sprout Farm that's like, I think in California or something, and it's FIVE, Sprouts. So we had to use the number 5. Farmers Market.
Farmer season from 9 to noon, 8 to noon.
I think it's 8, wasn't it 8 to 11 last year
11:30.
on Saturdays? They usually start, I think it starts the Saturday after Easter and then ends the Saturday before Thanksgiving. I think that's right. So we have a good long season here for a farmer's market.
Yeah. And then to eat your greens, Walnut Kitchen.
Yeah, you could go
Yeah.
to Walnut Kitchen. Most of the year they have our salad greens.
And Beard Brothers.
Beard Brothers Coffee, yeah, they use our salad greens as well. And some other things sometimes. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing, and then we'll change forward eventually.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's the goal. All right. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening. It means a lot to me that you chose to be here. To help Mama Terra's mission of making the world a disease-free place for generations to come, you can follow the show, write a review, or talk to your friends about it. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. Every week, I craft good health and wellness tips, recipes, and book recommendations with love and care just for you. My intention is to give you information and resources to help you make good choices and feel well. Find the link to subscribe in the show notes. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again for being here. We have lots of new episodes coming up, so stay tuned. And remember, good is what makes you feel well.
Toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala